It's Tuesday again and I would like to hang with you lads, but I'm off to listen to the new episode of the Slaven Selection Show. Play now or stay in dark forever.
Timing is everything. The reason most of the important military operations are conducted in the early hours of August, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. We all know how winter operations are largely gruesome and ineffective. From Stalingrad to Bulge, it's always exhausting. Barbara W. Tuchman's Guns of August is a work of well-documented history that is superior to fiction if you haven't read it yet. The Guns of August is a seminal work that chronicles the events leading up to and during the first month of World War I in August of 1914. And here are some key August events from the book that shaped the course of the war. Germany's war plans. The book describes a pivotal meeting with General Helmut von Moltke and Kaiser Wilhelm II talked about how urgent it was to mobilize. The Schlieffen Plan, which sought to swiftly destroy France before turning to Russia, was decided upon, despite a message suggesting that Britain may stay neutral if Germany attacked just Russia. Then the Battle of the Frontiers in August of 1914. This sequence of actions, which included the battles of Charleroi and Mons, signaled the start of significant combat between Allied and German forces. Strong opposition to the German advances in the beginning resulted in heavy losses for both sides. But now let's go back to present day, and it's an operation that I call White Triangle Incursion, or WTI. We were all caught by surprise when armed forces of Ukraine entered the Russian region of Kursk. And yes, as I have said, for the aggressor it was a WTI moment, or the intercourse moment. I don't want to say the word, you know what I mean. The operation isn't specifically named yet. The sources use various phrases such as August 2024, Kursk Oblast Incursion. And again, for obvious reasons, I call it WTI, White Triangle Incursion. Military operations in August are often scheduled to begin at 5 a.m., giving them enough time to surprise and weaken enemy lines with artillery bombardment and recon sabotage missions. As predicted, if at all, the operation in Russia's Kursk region started at 5 a.m. on August 6, 2024. Later on, one of the Ukrainian soldiers interviewed said, "But we only learned about the start of the operation on the day it began, at 5 a.m. on August 6. So I guess OPSEC was working well." This soldier claimed watching drone footage of Ukrainian forces dismantling Russian border defenses and clearing minefields at the time, followed by armored vehicles crossing into Russian territory about 2 hours later. Right on time to watch the sunrise in Russia, while steamrolling in German tanks for the second time in history. Many battles were fought in August in the Northern Hemisphere, and yes, a lot of them began at 5 a.m. Here are some of them. Yeah, let's talk about wars of Augustus and the famous Battle of Idistavizo. Fun fact, in the Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov, Pontius Pilate, the procurator of Judea, claims to have participated in this conflict. And here's the background. The first Roman Emperor Augustus, from 30 BC to 14 AD, conducted a number of military actions that are together referred to as the Wars of Augustus. The Roman Empire was greatly strengthened and its borders were greatly extended during this time of intense military action. Almost yearly campaigns and near constant fighting characterized Augustus's military campaigns. These operations involved not just military actions but also annexations of territory and diplomatic initiatives. The Battle of Idistavizo took place in August during the Wars of Augustus. As I have said, this conflict took place in AD 16 as a part of Roman wars against Germanic tribes, with a particular focus on Arminius Cherusci. The fight was important because it was an attempt by the Romans to exact revenge for their disastrous defeat at the fight of Teutoburg Forest in 89, which resulted in the annihilation of 3 Roman legions. The protracted war between Rome and the Germanic tribes under Augustus' reign reached a turning point when the Roman general Germanicus decisively defeated Arminius in the Battle of Iristaviso. Then, later on August 30th, 1469, Roberto Malatesta, famously known as the father of notorious Pandolfo Malatesta, led by the Duke of Urbino, Federico da Montefeltro, engaged in a decisive battle against the Church's army, led by Alessandro Sforza, Lord of Pesaro, and the papal Captain General Napoleone Orsini, Count of Alba and Tagliacozzo, as well as Lord of Bracciano. It was a significant victory over papal troops attempting to remove him from power at Rimini, and this conflict marked a turning point in Roberto Malatesta's dominance of Rimini. It demonstrated Roberto's military abilities as a condottiero, or mercenary captain, or I would say it's a mercenary, yeah. Thanks to the support of Federico da Montefeltro, he decisively defeated papal troops sent to oust him. In the following years, he is said to have poisoned both his stepmother Isotta and his half-brothers Salustio, whom he had initially associated in the government of Rimini, and Valerio. Then, later on, we have Battle of Dresden in 1813. And the Battle of Dresden fought on August 26th and 27th, 1813. That was Napoleon's final major military triumph. The conflict had begun around 5 a.m. with Austro-Russian attacks increasing in size and intensity. The French had been forced to surrender ground, but their strongholds had held up against all circumstances. It occurred in the late summer of the 1813 campaign, following the 10-week armistice of Auschwitz. Historians have debated the usefulness of this armistice for Napoleon because his allied opponents used the time to assemble formidable military forces. The Prussian army of Silesia, the Austrian army of Bohemia, and the Swedish army, together with the Russian-Prussian army reserve. The Battle of Dresden was notable because it represented one of Napoleon's final big triumphs in Germany. Dresden was a great French victory by any definition, and it was one of the Emperor's final unrivaled successes. The Allies lost 38,000 troops, while the French lost only 10,000. Then we have American Civil War battles in August. There was a Battle of Wilson Creek, fought on August 10, 1861, which was also known as the Battle of Oak Hills, which took place in Missouri and resulted in a Confederate victory. Union General Nathaniel Lyon was killed during this battle. It was the first major battle west of the Mississippi River. Then there's a second Battle of Bull Run from August 28th to 30th of 1862, also known as the Second Battle of Manassas, which was fought in Virginia, resulted in a Confederate victory, and there were 13,800 Union and 3,300 Confederate casualties. It was one of the largest battles of the war. Other notable August battles were like Castle's Cross Lanes on August 26, 1861 in West Virginia, which resulted in a Confederate victory. Then Battle of Hatteras Inlet Batteries, August 28 to 29, 1861 in North Carolina, when Union forces captured two forts. Then Battle of Cedar Mountain on August 9, 1862 in Virginia, again Confederate victory. And Battle of Richmond, August 30th, 1862 in Kentucky, which resulted again in Confederate victory. And these battles demonstrate the widespread nature of the conflict, with engagements occurring across multiple states. Now something on the First World War, and there's an episode with Canadians as well. So it's a 100 Days Offensive, which was fought from August 8th to all the way to November 1918. And the offensive began with the Battle of Amiens, in which Allied forces, comprising British, Canadian, Australian, and French soldiers, made a surprise attack against the Germans. This initial assault was distinguished by the efficient deployment of tanks and air support, which resulted in significant German casualties and the seizure of thousands of prisoners. The victory of Amiens laid the groundwork for a series of concerted attacks aimed at driving German forces back to their original positions from 1914. And the Battle of Amiens began at 4:20 a.m. on August 8, 1918. This surprise attack involved, again, a coordinated effort by Allied forces, including Canadian and Australian troops, who advanced behind a heavy artillery barrage, making a significant moment in the 100 Days Offensive of World War I. And it was Canada which led a surprise offensive that advanced 20 kilometers in 3 days. It was launched without the usual long artillery bombardment, catching the Germans off guard. The German commander called it the bleakest day of the German army in the history of the war. In 2 weeks, the Canadian Corps advanced 22 kilometers, liberated 27 villages, and took over 9,000 German prisoners. And now, Battle of the Scarpe, which began on August 26th of 1918 at 3 a.m. Okay, so it's not 5, it's 3. These guys are really early. So, following a brief artillery barrage, Canadian infantry sought to overrun German trenches as a part of the 100 Days Offensive. And the operation saw the Allies gain a sizable amount of territory through the coordinated attack of several divisions. And this was another Canadian-led offensive as part of the 100 Days campaign. It began on August 26th along the Arras-Cambrai road. On the first day, the Canadians marched over 5 miles and took control of important towns. In the days that followed, progress was hindered by German resistance and heavy rains. In just 3 days, Canadian forces had broken through significant German defenses, taken over 3,000 prisoners, and suffered over 5,500 losses. The last assault that resulted in Germany's capitulation in November of 1918 included these August battles, especially those fought in 1918, that they proved that the Canadian Corps increasing efficacy and standing as superior shock troops. There were 2 battles of Smolensk which were fought in August, and the first one took place on August 16 to 1812. It's one of the 2 major historical battles again. The other took place in 1941 during World War II. So, Battle of Smolensk in 1812. This battle was a part of Napoleon's invasion of Russia. The French forces led by Napoleon aimed to capture the city of Smolensk, which was heavily fortified by Russian troops under General Barclay de Tolly. The French managed to capture Smolensk, but the city was largely destroyed in the process. The Russian army withdrew, resulting in significant casualties on both sides, which estimates of 12,000 to 14,000 Russian losses and 10,000 French losses being made. The 1941 operation in Smolensk began on July 10, and it lasted all the way to September 10 in 1941, so it was mostly fought in August. And this battle occurred during the second phase of Operation Barbarossa, the German invasion of the Soviet Union in World War II. It involved intense fighting around the city of Smolensk as German forces sought to encircle and destroy Soviet armies. The battle was a tactical victory for the Germans, resulting in significant Soviet casualties, over 600,000, and the encirclement of several Soviet armies. However, it also stretched German supply lines and contributed to their eventual setbacks later in the war. And now I'm going back home. I was there. Operation Storm, 1995. It was a decisive military operation in the Croatian independence war conducted by Croatian forces in August. Again, it was launched on August 4th, 1995 by the Croatian army to restore Croatian control over territory occupied by rebel Serbs in the Republic of Serbia and Krajina. Croatian army attacked across a 630-kilometer front supported by the Croatian Special Police and the Army of the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina in the Bihać pocket. Operation Storm was the largest European land battle since World War II, I guess until the Ukrainian War. And it involved over 100,000, or according to other sources, 180,000 Croatian troops. And it commenced at dawn on 4th of August 1995 and was declared complete on the evening of August 7, despite significant mopping up operations against pockets of resistance lasting until August the 14th. I have to say, it's the truth. The United States also played a role in the operation by directing Croatia to a military consultancy firm, MPRI, or Military Professional Resources Incorporated, that signed a Pentagon license contract to advise, train, and provide intelligence to the Croatian army. And finally, present day, as I have said, White Triangle, Incursion, or simply WTI. Not much is in common to all of these conflicts, with the exception of the fact that most of the battles, operations, and campaigns were conducted during the perfect early morning peak time in the Western Hemisphere. As with the 100 Days Offensive, we might anticipate that the White Triangle operation will continue in its dynamic phase until early November, given the weather in Russia and Ukraine. I'm not trying to overanalyze anything, just guessing. Ukraine might have the best Western armor, but Rasputitsa is brutal and it doesn't care if you're driving an Asian T-55, T-72, T-80, Leopard, Merkava, Challenger, Abrams, or Panther, whatever heck. Mud is just mud. It is the best at swallowing any steel. Just like the victory at Amiens laid the groundwork for a series of concerted attacks aimed at driving German forces back to their original positions from 1914, the Ukrainian offensive might do the same to Putin's army, driving them back where they were before of the invasion of the Little Green Man in 2014. 1914, 2014. It appears that not much has changed about human nature in the past 100 years. We still have to get up really early in the morning to shake the things up. August saw the fighting of numerous more conflicts, including the American Civil Wars, Battle of Wilson Creek in 1861, the Battle of Contreras in 1847, and the Battle of Castiglione in 1796, in which French forces led by Augereau defeated the Austrians. The list goes on. So, the weather is still mostly functional considering the tactical requirements, but nights are not as short as in June, which gives any army enough time to get some good night rest before the attack. For instance, in August of 2024, sunrise hours in the United States follow this pattern. August 1st, it's 6:47 a.m., August 15th, 6:58 a.m., August 31st, 7 a.m. Anticipation, triangulation, and early rise are the key words for any surprise attack. Choosing the best terrain, weather, and time to obtain a tactical advantage is one of the musts in every successful military operation. Sun Tzu argued in favor of modifying military strategy according on meteorological circumstances. He thought that knowing and forecasting weather patterns could provide armies a tactical advantage by enabling them to take advantage of favorable conditions while minimizing the drawbacks that unfavorable weather could bring. Clausewitz presents the idea of friction, which describes the wide range of erratic factors such as weather that can have an impact on military operations. He points out that the inclement weather can produce roadblocks that impede movement and logistics, thereby affecting the overall efficacy of military plans. Bad weather can cause delays, lower soldier morale, and interfere with supply routes, so commanders must take this into account. The early bird gets the worm. The early drone drops the bomb, I guess. It's all about timing. It's all about right selection of the target or a goal in your life. Therefore, you have to make an effort to always be and stay selective.